told that when I came down here, that this would be the largest group, and I figured, well, if the largest group is going to be the easiest group, because usually you're the most organized. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been a member a little over 10 years at ISRA. I haven't been active. I don't know anybody in the room really. I've never attended a meeting. A little bit about myself, that just some bearded guy that needs a haircut and a shave. All summer long hasn't done anything and hasn't had a suit on. You know, when you're down there, you look a little different. Everyone thought people were shaking their heads, but that's the way it goes. You're home and you get to relax. And that's what we want to get you to do to help us, is to stay home and relax. If you know your legislator, and we have a problem in Springfield with, everybody's watching the news, and Ed's going to come up here and talk in a little while, and you're lobbying teams on the ground, and you've got somebody that can make or break a vote. We can go in there and beat on their door and do everything we can, but the most effective way to get them to listen to us is someone that knows them personally. So that's what this program's all about, is making relationships. And you guys help us, help yourself, help your legislative team. We all get calls. Hey, make some calls for us. Well, you know what happens? Ed can tell you. We start calling in districts where we don't live. The first thing these aides do is they're going to ask you what? Where do you live?
Right.
I mean, we all know that, right? Where do you live? And if you've ever seen it work, you got 2 pieces of paper or 1. Okay, well, that's really not in our district, but I'll take your information down. Well, your information's going down on Etch-a-Sketch. I mean, it doesn't exist. But if you live next door, or your grandkids, your daughter, all of us, they know you and they play soccer together, you're going to go down on a piece of paper that it came down there. And chances are you might get a call back. Or if you send a letter into a legislative district, you should get some response. IGO, you take cards into your district where you live. You should get something back. If not, then that's something that we can follow up on, and we can do that. Because every time you go into a legislative district, what are the things they want? They want to get reelected. Every 2 years, the reps are up. A third of the House is, third of the Senate is up. They want to get reelected. So what do they need from you? They need a little money. Maybe they need your front yard for a yard sign, but they need your vote. And that's what we're going to establish. So what we want to do is, there's 177 legislative districts around the state. Can we get to them all? Probably sooner than later. But what if we did, in 1 year, and I know this is a big undertaking, what if we did, say, 125 or 150 visits? What if I make appointments at 150 different legislative districts throughout the state? And I'm willing to make the appointment, make the call, and go there. But the one thing that I would be lacking is you guys, the members that live in that district. Because we can go in there and talk to them. I can go in there and talk to them. In their district, the same thing as you can in Springfield. It's a lot better in their district because you're there. But you got to have somebody go with you that lives there. A registered voter and one that votes. Because they'll check that. Because when you walk in, they're going to ask you, introduce myself. Hi, I'm Bill Potts. I live at this address. Somebody's writing that down. If we haven't been to that legislator before, they're going to check that. And all of a sudden, oh yeah. But hopefully when we leave this district visit, they're not going to need to check. Because chances are, you live next door to them, or your daughter lives next door to them, or your grandson, or your granddaughter. Maybe they play soccer together, or pee-wee football, or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. There's some connection in these communities, and that's what we're looking for. Once a year, we ask people to go to IGO, and I don't want to drift off on that. too much, but we can talk about that a little bit. But all we're asking you to do is stay home. Stay home and make one legislative visit to your rep, one to your senator. And I understand that everybody can't do it all the time, and everybody works. I admittedly, when I started to talk to you, I told you what I did for 17 years. I worked. 5, 6 months a year, I didn't live at home. I lived out of a hotel. I live in Springfield. You come home on the weekends, you dump out your suitcase, you put the clean clothes in, you go to the laundromat, the dry cleaners, you pick up your white shirts, you put the other ones there, and you rotate and you get ready to go back. And your family's like, well, where are you going? They're in session. And now how they're running things is the House and Senate are not in at the same time. So your legislative team is down there all the time, because if one is in session, your team's down there, and I've got to tell you that. So you guys should be proud of that and how well they work together. But this is going to be a big year, and I know you hear that all the time. This is the biggest election to happen. This is the biggest legislative session to happen. But it's just getting worse, and they're going to come after our Second Amendment rights. I mean, people are nodding their heads. They're coming. And we've got to do everything we can to fend them off and protect what we have. So how the program is going to work and how these site visits will work is I'll make an appointment. Now I'm going to have to take what's available to me, and that's why I said not everybody can go. If they only give me 9 o'clock in the morning, a lot of people are at work. But hopefully you can get 1 or 2. The goal would be to have 2 or 3 people that live in the district that are registered voters that vote. That's going to be the key. And that are members to come in there with me. And we're just going to have a conversation with them. So, are all these 177 legislators on our side? More than likely not. Most of them are. So how do we determine which legislative districts we see? We see them all. Why avoid somebody that's not going to be with us? Because if you live in that district and they're totally against us, we want to go visit them. Put a name and a face together. They might not ever be with us, but maybe we can talk to them. Maybe their son and your daughter or granddaughter know each other. Well, all of a sudden the meeting's over and it's like, well, them people aren't so bad. They live across the street from us. I was at a town hall last month, and I had someone that kind of was, so what I will do before I get to this, I'm going to pass around a sheet, and if you are willing to do this, willing to sign up and be part of this, it's not saying you're going to make a meeting. All I'm asking is I'm looking for numbers. I'm looking for a spreadsheet. So if I've got an appointment at 9 a.m. in Richard's office, and I've got 6 people that said they would go, and I know that they're in that district, and I call you and say I got a meeting, chances are I'm going to get 1 or 2, hopefully. So I'll pass that around in a little bit. But to get back to, I sent the clipboard around a month ago, and somebody signed up, and after it was over, he goes, I signed up, but my senator's Don Harmon. I said, great. Will you go? If I make that appointment, you tell me exactly, I guarantee we'll go and we'll sit in there. We might not, we know what the outcome's going to be, but at least we can have a conversation. And I've taken one of our members that lives in Don Harmon's district into Oak Park, Illinois, and we sat down and maybe we sat for 20 minutes. Maybe we don't gain anything. But what we did do is we put that senator's face with one of his constituents that votes. It makes a difference. Mm-hmm. So then what happens? Don Harmon's never going to be with us. And your legislative team, your lobbying team is down there and there's a vote. And we've done all these calls. But that one member that had sat with Don Harmon, that all of a sudden they know each other, so you call him up and say, hey, give Harmon a call. Is he going to go anywhere? Probably not. But that senator's going to get a call from a constituent he knows that he's met with. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? I mean, it does to me. And I've done this program through the unions, and like I said, my advantage was that I had a bipartisan political action committee. I had a lot of members that, I know there's none down here, but they worked for the tollway. And those were all Republican members. And and if you remember years ago, when the Senate President was Tate Phillips, if you wanted to work on the tollway, you became an Addison Township committeeman in Addison Township. And that's how, and at one point, there was about 2,400 of those lane walkers, the collectors. Remember when we had toll booths and all that? Well, now there's only about 600 of them left through attrition, through open road tolling. They don't do that anymore. But I had those groups. Anyone at the Secretary of State, the DMV, when you go get your driver's license, those were all members of mine that I had. And those were all Republican members. But then you had the other side of the aisle where I had Democratic members that work in schools, that were they were the support staff, the non-certifieds. But together, we worked together because we had a common goal. And I think that's what we have here, and I know it is. So, has anybody got any questions before I go on? Or, I mean, I'm just talking, and I'm asking you to do something. And I'm asking, it's like, well, he's going to want to, he wants me to go with him. Well, maybe the meeting lasts 10 minutes, maybe it lasts 20 minutes. But I'm asking you to stay home. I'm not asking you to drive all over. I'm asking you to stay home in the legislative district you have. So I've done 3 of these town halls. I've got 49 people so far in the state that have signed up to do it. Are we going to get everybody a member in every legislative district? I think we will, because we're going to hold some town halls south of here. We're going to keep doing this until we get people to do it. Because if we just sit still and become complacent, look what happened. I see a gold shirt over there. That sweatshirt you got. Remember when you couldn't get in to that hall?
Yeah.
How many went last year?
Last year was pathetic.
How many went last year?
100, I think.
Yeah. So, but remember what happened before everybody, when we didn't have permits in our pockets? We couldn't get in, right? Oh, we got to get there early to get a seat, otherwise we won't get in. They're lined up down the street. What we got, what we wanted, membership in the organization is dropped. You went last year, you saw what happened. It's been embarrassing. So, and that's why it's actually a good thing that Ed is here, and he can talk about what is going to transpire down in Springfield this year, what we're thinking. But I think we're all on the same page. We know what's coming. They're coming. They're going to come after us. So let me stop there and ask if there's any questions. And what I'd like to do is pass these clipboards around. If you're willing to go with me, if I'm willing to make the meetings and be there myself and drive there, would you go with me? At one legislative meeting when I did, I learned how to make a pie. I never baked an apple pie before in my life. I took some members in. They were some members from the Secretary of State's office. They knew the legislator. They were talking. We weren't talking about pensions, and that's what we went in there for. I just sat back and let them talk. So there's one legislator and 2 members at the time, and they were talking about how to make a pie and how much cinnamon to put in. That was probably the best meeting we ever had, because I know if that legislator ever wobbles one way or the other, I got 2 ladies that'll make calls instantly. And that's what will happen. More than likely, you're going to talk a little bit about the Second Amendment stuff, but you might be talking about soccer, or you might be talking about Pee Wee football. But at least you made a relationship there. And at that same legislator, so after as these meetings go, I will do a report on it. And there are going to be brief reports. Who was there? But say that same legislator and your lobbying team has got a problem with that person. They're going to look up, say, oh, that member there was there. You might get a call. You might get a call from Richard or somebody say, hey, can you call them back? They're not right on this. Well, at that point, yeah, I can call them back, and you're going to call right into that office. Because they know you. Now all of a sudden you got 2 faces that know each other. That's what we're trying to do, what we're trying to build here. Has anybody got any questions for me? I mean, what? It's easier just to have a conversation than just to be talking.
So how often are these meetings you're talking about? It's like a monthly meeting or?
The meetings are whenever I can get them.
Okay.
So my goal is to have one meeting in every legislative district in the state. Big goal, right? 177 meetings. Plus, in the meantime of all this, every rep is up. So you could possibly, we're going to get changing in the guards. Is that good or bad? We hope it's good, but you know what happens? We lose our friends. And you don't want to replace them with someone that's not going to be with us. So the meetings, if I'm in one legislative district, I'm probably not going back there because I'm going to be all over the state. So that's why I haven't set any of these meetings up yet, and I wanted to come down here first. Because I can set meetings in this area up, because what I'll probably get, the volunteers that I will get that will want to come in Deerfield are going to be up north. So does that answer your question? So I'm going to set Will County. I'll give you an example of why I want. In Wheaton, I picked up some people that wanted to volunteer. They said, I'm in Senator Holmes' district, but I think Senator Holmes touches a little bit of Will County. So I didn't make that appointment yet because there's somebody that might be your senator too. And I don't want to say, well, I've already been there and I'm not going back for 7 months. I would rather have the list. We're starting this from not I have a list that had nothing on it, so I got a list of 49 names, and eventually I'll have 100 names. And as I go, I mean, look at how many members we have. Not everyone's going to volunteer, but I don't want to leave anyone behind once we start. I didn't want to come here and say, I've already been there, so I'm not going back. Does that answer your question? So, and now they're going back in session next week. And if you look at your calendar, they're not always in, but there's a big gap. I think March, there's a big gap. And they're not in a lot. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to be in their office. And then hopefully we can build and we can see how this works. And then the big picture is hopefully then so then the question is, how do we take this, go to the next step, and bring IGO back to the way it was? It's never going to be huge again like it was, but can we get better every year? And that's a conversation, we would just have a conversation. Anybody else have any questions for me? Or I mean, I have your officers, your electeds in the organization, and your lobbyists. Anybody else got any questions for me? Or if we can pass that around, and like I said, if you don't know, fill it out, and I'll do the work. And I've got a card, and I'll come around and I'll give you my card. I have my cell phone on there and my email. Don't hesitate to call me. That's why I put my cell phone on there. I want you to call me. Ask me questions. I will call you back. Yes, sir.
I just think it's a great idea, and I know it's a lot of work on your part, and I just want to express appreciation. And it's a great project.
Thank you. And no, but it doesn't work without you guys. I can do all this, like I said, I can make all these meetings, but if I don't have anybody going in with me, then it doesn't work. So, anybody else? I mean, you guys are the key. I can set up the meetings, I can be there with you, we can start off, the conversation will just happen. I mean, I'm one of those people that will talk to somebody in the grocery store for 20 minutes that I don't know, but it just happens. Yes, sir.
But it's pretty much very standard. I'll talk to some. At least I have. It's a franchise like these here, man. It's second restaurant business. I live out in the middle of nowhere, off the farm country. Bobby Rush. My representative. Robin Kelly now.
Well, and what we're talking is your House rep and your Senate, not the congressional stuff. So we can get into that later as we go. We can start getting in congressional stuff that happens in Washington. But what we're talking about here is state legislators. So I guess with that, I don't know what. Yeah, Richard talking.
For those of you who
Yes, sir.
You know, it comes down to votes ultimately.
Absolutely.
correct? All right, it comes down to votes. What is your opinion of the chances that the ISRA won't be fighting a losing battle forever in this state because of the politics? I mean, you're with the SEIU, or were.
I used to be with SEIU,
All right,
yes.
so you've got a good handle on what goes on with Democratic politics now. I mean, what are the chances of the state ever going Republican? Browner doesn't run the thing, Manny. It's probably going to be that way for.
So everyone's talking about a wave. Is that wave going to happen? Is it a guaranteed thing? I don't think so. I really don't. I really don't believe so. But like what I said is, and I think that the organization is, you don't want to lose a good legislator for a bad, so you've got to get involved in that too. So that's a whole other thing, and Richard could answer that. I mean, I don't want to drift out of what I'm doing. What I'm doing and what we're going to do is work with what we got. And if you keep giving me somebody new, I'll work with them. So it's kind of broke down in these site visits. We're gonna talk to the current legislators. You've got next year at this time, you're gonna have some new people, and we're gonna have to start this all over again. And then in what? And then in 2 years, the districts could change. Because every 10 years, all the districts change, right? We talk about gerrymandering your congressional district. These districts only stay this way for 10 years. So we're on the last, 4 years of the cycle. So it's going to change again. So to answer your questions, we got an uphill battle, but we're going up. We're not going backwards, and I certainly don't want to go backwards. I mean, it would be very easy for me to retire come last July 1 and say, well, I got it made, I can paint the house, I got the cleanest garage in the neighborhood, I guarantee you, because I spent all summer, I move it out, move it in. You can only do that so many times, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, and you're used to, and my situation was I was used to being gone for 4 or 5 days in a row. I said, now I'm home. You know, it worked out for the first week. You go to the restaurant, you kind of hang out. It's like, well, this kind of sucks. I got to do something. So,
Let me introduce Executive Director of the ISRA, Rich Pearson.
Thanks, folks. Thank you guys for coming tonight, ladies. When we talk about political action, you know, we talk about grassroots, and so the way grassroots has turned out to work is mostly top-down grassroots. Okay, so for example, we have members of the organization, and we need phone calls, so we need them to contact our legislators. So we get an orange postcard in the mail, or with us, a yellow postcard in the mail. Doesn't matter, you get a postcard in the mail. It says, "Yeah, I want you to go call Margot McDermott." Margot here?
No.
Good, I can pick on her. So, anyway, but what's missing in that? What's missing in that is exactly what Bill said. It's the relationship with your legislator, okay? When they get there, you know, they see the lobbying team. Yes. Ed Sullivan, I think we got one of the best lobbying teams ever. We put them all together, what do you think? We do. There's no question about it. But we can't do it without you there. So, I go talk to Margot. Are you in Margot's district? No. You are now. So I said, you know, I know Jeff came and talked to you about this issue, you know, and he's one of your constituents. It's exactly what Bill said. It's about relationship building. So maybe Don Harmon will not put in a sentence, and this is what it gets down to. Maybe we'll change that sentence, and he'll be amenable to changing that sentence so that it takes the teeth out of it. So maybe we cannot stop the bill, but maybe we can take the teeth out of it and just put dumbs in there instead. Okay? Every sentence, every period, every comma means something in legislation. So all those things that we do, that we discuss, that we push for, you know, you are the people who back us up. So if we have a group on the bottom, the pyramid down here, the base, base of the pyramid, and you are talking about whatever the issue is, then if that base is solid, then it's solid all the way to the top. But if the base isn't solid, the pyramid falls down. I don't care how big you go. Okay? If you study Egyptian history, which I know you won't do, you'll find a lot of pyramids fell down. But anyway, so that's becoming, we're trying to get our members to develop relationships with their legislators. Okay? And when that happens, you know, we talk to legislators. You know, I got a guy in my district, well, he's a friend of mine, he really doesn't like this bill. That means something to them. If Al calls and say, you know, I don't like this, and are you in Margot's district?
No,
That's good. Because Margot was saying, that Al, he's not in my district. What do I care? Bill's exactly right. Goes in the circular file. Okay? So that's what this is about. The reason it's called a site project is because of two things. The site means that we're going to visit them on site, but it's spelled S-I-G-H-T because we're going to have them.
good idea, I'll sign
So
up.
that's why that's spelled that way. So this is going to take an incredible amount of work. You know, I don't know that this program has ever been tried by any gun group anywhere in the United States. We're breaking ground here. Okay? When you break ground, there's a lot of shoveling, a lot of sweat, and sometimes it falls in God, so you just dig some more. So that's all you gotta do, just keep digging. Okay? So that's why it's so important that we get our members into the offices of the legislature. You know, changes a sentence, changes an idea, doesn't put something in a bill. Okay? This is not, none of this stuff is a Hail Mary pass. This is 3 yards, well, maybe 1 yard, and a cloud of dust every time. You know, so
Like a Bears game.
you have to constantly work on that. So, one of our new lobbyists is a representative, former representative, Ed Sullivan, the floor leader of the Republican Party. Okay, and so I will now introduce Ed and he'll give you.
For 10 years, I was the point person for all gun-related, Second Amendment-related issues for the House Republicans. And so, I guess for me, I didn't have to worry about anyone coming. I'd be, in his new program, I'd be a 5, meaning you don't really need to worry about my vote, but it's nice to hear from you. And if I get in trouble, get into a primary, that's when I know some faces that I can call upon and say, hey, can you spread the word, put a yard sign in, and help me out? You know, we're always looking for that other vote. We're not going to get some of these members that are gonna vote, you know, there's a ban on scary-looking semi-automatic weapons. Well, they're gonna have to stick with that vote. But Margot McDermott's gonna put forth a bill that would allow judges and people working in the judicial system to carry in courthouses, thereby taking away a prohibited spot for concealed carry. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe we can reason with them. So that's why this is important. And speaking as a former legislator, that personal contact is a lot better for me to put a face and then potentially get in a discussion. Oh, I know your mother, or I know your sister, or your father, and build relationships. So that's what this is all about. The next General Assembly, starting Tuesday on the House, Senate doesn't come in, you know, begins kind of the election process. Not a lot of big things are going to happen because everyone wants to see what happens in, to some degree, in March, but really we're looking at November. And so a lot of groups are kind of holding back to see, are we going to have a new governor? How many new members are we going to have? We know we're going to have over 30 new members because of retirement, and people just deciding not to run again. I was one of those a year ago. I just decided not to run again. Are there going to be some knockouts? Are some people going to lose their jobs because of different things? We just don't know that. You know, there's a wave, a Democrat wave building. Will it be sustainable? I don't think it'll be that as big as what people are saying right now, and some in the media want to portray it as bigger than it is. But we got to keep an eye on it, because right now, you know, whether you believe in what Governor Rauner has to say or does not have to say, he's our backstop. First time, so I've 14 years. I spent 2 years with a Republican governor. The rest of the time was completely run by Democrats. Talking about banging your head against a wall. it's nice to have a Republican governor. Whether you agree with all the things that the Republican governor has to say or do, it's nice to have that backstop for Second Amendment issues. You know, during this last session, you know, the big issue was dealer licensing, and we were able to get an audience with the governor and his chief of staff almost instantly and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what we're proposing, this is why this bill is bad. He says, perfect, you know, between you and I, it'll be vetoed, but try not to get it on my desk. So, you know, we worked well with him, and he was very much in favor of what we had to say. But if we lose that backstop, you know, people that don't believe in what we believe, then only need 60 votes, because the next governor, if it's not a Republican, will not be for the Second Amendment. One of which is, used to run an anti-gun group, and that's Pritzker. So, it's a big election. You know, I don't ever want to say, well, I was one of the people that got to vote to impeach a governor. So, I've started to say, I've never seen it all. You know, I say, God, I've seen it all now. Well, I've stopped saying it. And especially this is Illinois, so you just can't say that for anything anymore, because you don't see it all in Illinois. But it is getting, it's scarier on the consequence of what happens next year, because instead of the backstop, and when I say backstop, it means if they pass something with 61, 60 is all you need, governor vetoes it, then it needs 71 to pass and go into law. Well, if you have a governor that isn't for you, you only need 60. So right now, we generally can stop everything. Dealer licensing, I think the opposition had about 53 votes. And they have 53 votes because our lobbying team and Springfield Armory brought in a new lobbying team, and they were able to help coordinate, obviously, NRA, NSFF, and those guys, Whitty O'Donnell, and those guys. We were able to start getting into Tier 2 Democrats. What I mean by that is, you got your margins. You got your guys that, you know, they're wobbly, as they say, you know, 50-50. We were able to close those folks down and go into some people that are maybe 60-40 not in favor of us. And that's where we're making progress, and we can continue to do that. At this point, that's where we're at. You know, we can keep the opposition at about 53, and especially a big bill like dealer licensing. You know, these Moms Demand in Action, what they're very good at is bringing people from your district to go talk to legislators, and they get them in their districts, just like we're talking about doing. And so it's something that is rattled. You know, I'm from the suburbs. I'm from Lake County, so you know, I'm an hour and a half away. That's home of the Moms Demand Action, the collar counties to the north. That you don't. Well, in my area, you don't have a lot of money. You can't because of the density. I'm a bow hunter, but that's all we get to do. So that's.
I think that when you get the person that's always against you, you know, why should I go see somebody that's always against you? Because every once in a while, you get to a point where they want to give you something. They can't vote for it, they can't vote against it, but sometimes they have to go out for a cup of coffee during the vote. That equals what kind of a vote? The no vote. So last time we did the licensing, we had a lot of people coffee, and so they just weren't there. And so when they're not there, that becomes a no vote. Okay, because it's the majority of the legislators, not the majority of the people present. Okay, so that becomes really important. So just these conversations that Bill's going to have, if you can get some of those people, and we're the only ones that can probably deal with that because we're right there, right then. We get these people to take a walk, you know, that makes a big difference. So, and one of the things that we're good at, we are very good at counting votes. Okay, so, and that's an important skill. If you can't count votes, you're going to get your butt handed to you on Friday day. You might get empty anyway, but if you can't count votes, it'll come with you. So that becomes important. I appreciate Ed. I appreciate Bill. He's got one terrible hard job ahead of him, and they need your help. So, thank you.